Chill here with Sirius Dallas Moon, Venus hour. Venus Beta per se, the moon is approaching Venus Beta per se, Mars and Saturn conjoining. And let's talk about fitness. The ascendant is applying to conjoin Sedna. Um, Something that I noticed around is that the visibility, the ability to, whether it is to actually have hygiene. For example, if we clean our face, then we need to usually touch a face, and for people that went to targeting is not always possible. And of course, the constant touch of other people. Um, and this also, there are limits to movements because of those type of occult practices um, and technology occult interfaces. And this causes that people can look good and be fit and eat well only when they comply with being raped and raping. Um, and this is something that is supposed to be so that the people that were raped and begin to talk about it would look, sound, and be looking less good so that they will not basically cross, whether it is in media, whether it's the ability to speak is inherent to the type of the violation. Um, but this is so that basically people will glorify um, the offenders. And this is also done to preserve all kinds of approaches about relationships and make it not accessible for people to have intimacy. Because if we go into the deep of the things, yes, there are people, looking. Um, People have different looks, and some people, I don't know, cross camera in some certain way, some people less. But here is the thing: um, when people have the sense of self, a natural glow, and they can get to move their body in a way that's safe and free for them, they naturally fit. They naturally opt for the food that is actually nourishing. They might not have, what people go to aesthetics, but it's also more natural looks, and this is something that I see all across the board, where um, in the beginning we identified it as, oh, somebody was taking care of the fitness, eating better, getting fit, looking better, and then we say, oh, but how was the world treated the person that previously were? But then when they begin to look inwards, they would see that they were violated as child, so there was an intimacy issue there. And even when they look good and stay fit, the minute they begin to tend to that intimacy issue, now they're beginning to be targeted because they're on. It's very funny to say, but they're on the money. Why am I saying they're on the money? Because these violations are done to siphon life energy, and basically they're done to hoard wealth and enslave people. Sense of self, love, well-being, the material resources, they're all one. And people create all kinds of division to shame people on every single component of their whole self. and it's a human trafficking scheme. Um, it's just something that I noticed around, um, and then what people are not, uh, how should I say that? When acknowledging the part that was violated is seen as within the way that it's being seen. And with children, they grow into parents because it happens in infant. An infant doesn't know, and sometimes they would play on trying to create misplaced arousal in the infant. And the parent doesn't know. They may see child looking or acting in a way that looks like adult and its child, and then parents grow with neurodivergent children, and they say, oh, it's neurodivergent. They say, oh, the child needs to behave well. Oh, why? And when the child, why is the child so selfish? Why are they always thinking of themselves? Because the parents were violated as children. And then for the parent to acknowledge that something happened to the child that was invisible, it would bring them to things that they may have gone through as children as well. And this is done so that these children could be kidnapped even by the authorities under the guise of therapy and trafficked. And this is what the Epstein ring did and does, unfortunately. Because such a child would not be believed in when they go to therapy, it would not be believed. And if it's infiltration of court system, and this is, and every time somebody being kind to the child of that person is many times attempts to groom them, and they don't even have like ability to live in a house and be safe, but even in their own bodies many times. And then for this intense helplessness, um, people already want for the whole world to end as euthanasia, not as revenge, not even as purging,